Everyone, welcome back to the Performance Matters Podcast. I'm your host, Matrix. We are here today with Mihai Raducanu. We're very lucky to have him. But first, a quick shout out to our sponsor, Pete Method Photography. Pete Method Photography is Niagara's premier sports photographers with over 25 years of experience, capturing the memories of all sports and also sport trades. You can email Pete at petemethodphotography@gmail.com for more information. So if you guys are interested, hit up Pete, man. He's a good dude, does some great work. Now, on with the show. Mihai, welcome. Thanks for being on, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate this.
Awesome. We're excited.
Opportunity to impact and speak to people about things.
Absolutely. So, for those who don't really know you, I'd love to just kind of, get a deep dive into the story here, man. I'm very curious.
I mean, listen, the story starts way back, but since we're on a sports themed podcast and a sports related podcast, I'm a basketball guy. Basketball is my start. Basketball carried me. I came to Canada as an immigrant from Romania. Couldn't speak English, but I could play hoops. Well, I thought I could play hoops. But I ended up, thankfully, at the best high school at the time in Canada for men's basketball, Cathedral High School in Hamilton. And my Coach Mark Walton, still my mentor to this day. I try to see him as much as I can. Took care of me, man. And honestly, what you do on a daily basis and the people that come into your facility on a daily basis, it's understanding the work ethic, understanding to show up, understanding to do the extra, be the first guy in the gym, last guy out. And Coach Walton taught me that in high school, and I was able to build some habits, develop my body, develop my skill sets, and basketball ended up taking me places. I ended up playing on the junior national team. I ended up getting a scholarship, played at Coastal Carolina University.
Sick. That's sick.
Yeah. How great to just, because you're putting in the work and you get after it and you dedicate yourself to it and you're actually productive with your time. And honestly, Matrix, I think the biggest thing is for everybody to realize what their actual talents are, right? What their physical strengths are, weaknesses, mental, emotional, relational, right? Just understand who you are, what you're good at, and then do it. Basketball was it for me, and it continues to be. 30 years later, I'm still here, right? Coaching hoops and helping people through basketball. But the journey has been fueled by hoops, and we can talk about different aspects of the journey, but really basketball is what gets me going and fuels me on a daily basis.
Yeah, that was your universal language coming down here, eh?
Yeah, man. Yeah, and it continues to be that, and it's amazing to be able to impact the game on such a level. I was able to start basketball education companies on 4 continents. I'm lucky enough that I'm able to teach this for the last 11 years at Canisius College. I teach sports entrepreneurship, sports product development, sports marketing, and it's pretty cool. And I help people build their sports businesses. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all that I've been doing for all these years, is helping people develop sports businesses all over the world. And it kind of led me through this path of consulting. I landed at Mohawk College in Hamilton, and what a great place to land. I was able to help the athletic department, grow and develop. Through that, the women's basketball head coaching job became available. I took a 1-year interim, and here I am entering season 4. Thankfully, the girls listen, and they work hard, and they believe. So we're able to deliver the first championship in 34 years in Mohawk women's basketball history last year.
I saw that, man. Trust you. Yeah, I know. I'm roller.
So the girls ball out, and the girls believe, but it all comes down to the same principles you bring out in your gym. Just make sure you show up, make sure you love each other, make sure you work hard, make sure you analyze, don't criticize, and win. You got to prepare to win, because if you don't prepare to win, there's no point in doing any of this shit.
Yeah. It's I think a big point, especially like we're in the off season for a lot of our fall winter sports, is we're big on exposure of weak points. I think a lot of times people, obviously humans, we love to do what we're good at, and we don't like being bad at something, and it's uncomfortable for a lot of times doing that stuff. But really, it's that's the growth points. Hey, we want you to expose, find those weak points in whatever avenue it is, if it's in the gym or on the court or in any aspect. expose those weak points, and don't have this like avoidance strategy, just kind of like compartmentalize everything to avoid those weak areas. But let's navigate through it a little bit. Let's find out what you're bad at and see if we can kind of hammer them, and we'll get better day in, day out, and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's more of like a refreshing standpoint when they kind of realize it's not as bad as they think, and it's progressive in that way, right?
Yeah, yeah. You're supposed to understand how you operate. You're supposed to understand what you're not good at. You're supposed to understand what you'll never get good at, but you got to camouflage it, and make other things better.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a time to maximize your strengths and minimize your weak points, and there's a time to let's open up some doors and find out what those weak points are and explore them a little bit more.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So walk me through so when you're at Coastal Carolina, what was the next step after you graduated? And you're like, okay, like what's step 2 here?
Yeah, I mean, step 2 for me was to try to play professional basketball, right? To figure out a way. And there's a guy who's actually the head coach of the Winnipeg Sea Bears, Mike Taylor. Mike Taylor, was coaching in Germany at the time. I've known him since his days at IUPUI, so when I was in high school. But anyway, Mike Taylor was coaching a Division II team in Germany, and he said, hey, there's an opportunity for you here. And I ended up getting hurt. I ended up not going. I ended up coming back to Canada. So that kind of ended my playing career, right? And I thought that was it, right? What's next? You're done.
Yeah.
You're done playing. It was, you're trying to figure out what happens after sports.
And that's a tough one. That's I think a big mental block for a lot of people is that's almost, they kind of identifies their sport, right? So how'd you kind of navigate that?
Yeah, I mean, really, it was just old school. You got to work. You got to start working. You got to figure out what to do. You got to make money. I got married young. I got married right after college, and to my first wife. And it was just you got to work, right? You got to work. But I wasn't sold on it, man. I wasn't sold on it, and I started to build decks and fences with my high school coach, Coach Marco, and that was a thing. Then it was seasonal. So through hoops, I met a bunch of guys that were cops in the Niagara region. And one thing led to another, and I became a cop. I became a police officer in the Niagara region. I was a cop for, six and a half years.
Damn.
Yeah. And from 27 to 32, 33. And I had a good time doing it. I had a great time doing it. Did all kinds of jobs within it. But while I was doing that, I started training a kid in grade 7 in 2008. I started training him, and I didn't know what to do. So I called my college coach, and I was like, "Hey, man, what am I doing here?" And he was training LeBron, Kobe, Vince Carter. He's the godfather of skill development. His name's Gannon Baker, and he sent me a box of DVDs. He called me and he's like, "This is how you do it. This is how you teach." So I started teaching, and then Matrix, just one thing led to another. That kid got better. Zach Bickle, then his buddy. I call him the first 3 guys. Right?
Yeah.
Zach Bickle, Nick Green, and Luke Fast. These kids are in their 30s now, but they just wanted to work.
Yeah.
And then you just got to start mushrooming and just start doing more things. And one of my good mentors to this day, Bob Wright, was one of the deputy chief of police in Niagara. And he said, "Hey, why don't you, there's a thing you can do. You can take a year off. You can take a year off and you can have your job back. It's a leave of absence. See how far you can take hoops." So, I was like, yeah, let's try this. And I took the year off and never looked back. I just kept on going. And skill training evolved, world recognition evolved. I started doing stuff with Gannon Baker, my mentor in the U.S., Nike camps. Then I started my camp in Europe in 2014 with one of my good friends. It was a prospect pro camp. And then things just kept going. By 2017, I was traveling extensively all over the world, and Gannon Baker, my mentor, asked me to take over his company, help him grow it even more. Wow. So I did, which was wild, such a full circle moment. And Yeah, I moved to Florida. Then I went to China and opened up Gannon Baker China before
Whoa.
him. I helped him open up Gannon Baker Africa, and
You're
continued to do the
worldwide, man.
European training worldwide. And I'm thankful. This is the sport, right? That
Yeah.
I thought it's done. I thought it was done after college days, after hurting myself and not being able to go play. And here we are. We're still in it, deep in it, and making an impact. So, man, I'm thankful for this ball.
Yeah, no, that's so really like you took the leave of absence from being the police, and then next thing you know, you started like your own little academy, and then that just kind of grew and grew and grew. Like, what was like, I wouldn't say the secret sauce, but what do you think led to that growth for your own business before it started to expand? All of a sudden, now you're helping others overseas to kind of do the same thing with their own, skill development companies and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I help people everywhere. There's people, a lot of people that I help are it's set up like yourself, right? Like you have a facility and you run programming, and it's mainly basketball that I help people with, but I
Yeah,
help strength and conditioning. Anyway, so they're all over the place, but I always tell them the same thing: it's results. Right? It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Your marketing doesn't matter. Your tools doesn't matter. Your equipment doesn't matter. Your certifications doesn't matter. Who you hang out with doesn't matter. Who trains in your gym once or twice for a photo op doesn't matter.
yeah,
But the people that come in and get results and they improve, and in your case, they get faster, they get more mobile, they get stronger. They're able to understand their bodies more. They jump higher, whatever, right? Like if you produce results consistently and then in turn it helps them perform, that's the secret sauce. There's no other secret sauce, and results will always speak, and that's that's the reality of it.
yeah. Just be good. Be good at the thing that you got hired to do.
Yeah, help people become better, help people become better athletes. And when it comes to the youth, you see improvement fast if you know what you're
Yeah,
doing. So that gives you that's your main, you know, on a business standpoint, that's where you get most of your revenue, most of your income comes from that side of sports, because there's a lot of them. And then it thins out, right? There's some high school players that are, high performance, but not many anymore, right? And then there's the college ranks, semi-pro ranks, which are pretty much everybody's a high performance athlete.
yeah,
And then you get your pros, where if you don't help them, they don't get paid, so you don't really have a job, right? So
yeah.
you better know what you're doing if you're touching pros.
Yeah, we were talking. Me and Miles were talking the other day about like if we had to pick one or the other, like we'd rather work with professionals or work with high schools, and you just kind of like a this or that question. I'm like honestly, like the high school age, youth categories, I would say a lot more fulfilling, at least personally, just because they're so raw and you have a bigger impact. You can develop and help them learn a lot of these traits, which again for the pros, they're already getting paid. They got hired to do a job professionally. They're really elite. Your job really is just to not make them worse. It's kind of just like they're as good as they are right now. Just make sure they can still play in the game and do all those things at a high level. If you can't make them any better, just don't make them any worse. Make sure they feel good and game ready as often as you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah, and their body's got to last. And for sports
yeah,
specific, for me, it's different because somebody can make a couple more bucks if they get two, three more rebounds a game, or if they get a couple of easy layups, or if they can shoot the three better, higher percentage, then that it's their contracts, right? So they're very specific in terms of what they need to get better at it. Um, I enjoy working with all levels. The youth is very very rewarding because like anything else, it happens fast, right? You see their
yeah,
improvements really fast. Um, but if you work with the youth, then when they come to the college level, it makes it so much easier for us as coaches because I get freshmen. I got two rookies this year, straight rookies coming in, and they need a lot of information, right? They
yeah.
need a lot of information in terms of how to move their bodies, where to go, what to do, pace, strength, speed. It's very they come unprepared, right? So our job is harder. So if yourself and anybody that coaches youth can get them ready, man, we're producing higher level athletes, you know.
Yeah, I find sometimes it almost gets caught up where it's like they just kind of get passed along to the next level, and some coaches are like, okay, they'll take care of this when they get there. But really, it's kind of like they just keep getting sent up and up and up and up or wherever they're going. They really don't have a good foundation of any of those things, whether it be skill development or strength, physicality, mental. Because I feel it's always like just pass the next person. It's their job to do it now. But it's like really, it's like you start them young and help them learn, and again, cater it to their relevant age and abilities. But if they have that foundation, it's just easier to kind of keep stacking those bricks when they get to the higher level. They're more prepared. It's not as foreign to them, right? It's an easier, I would say, adjustment for a lot of them. So what would you say, all the years of experience you have working with these different athletes across various populations and levels, how has your almost like philosophy maybe adapted or changed, knowing what you started like back in the early 2000s to now? Like, how has your philosophy changed, if at all?
Philosophy has always been about putting in the work, right?
Yeah.
Like learning. For me, it's very holistic. It's been holistic since day one. I like to know what I'm doing in order for me to do it really well. So I teach like that.
Yeah.
You need to understand what's happening, and we break it down. Where are you? Like, where are you physically? I'm tall, slow, I'm athletic, I'm short, I'm skinny, I'm overweight. Well, where are you?
Yeah.
And then where do you want to go, and how are you going to get there? Same thing mentally, same thing emotionally, same thing relationally, and same thing spiritually, whatever that means to you, right? So you got to develop in those 5 aspects, because if you don't develop in those aspects, then you're never going to get better. So it's got to be holistic. But the approach, it's developed. I've been doing this for 18 years, right? So the approach has changed because our generations have changed. The way humans think have changed. Before it was expected that the work ethic is a given, is the price of admission, but no longer is, right? It's got to be, you got to coerce it out of people. It was expected that the fight is there, that the competitiveness is there. It was expected that if you get punched in the chest, you punch back harder. But that's no longer there as the years have caught up to us, right? Because there's no schoolyard fights.
Yeah.
No chases. Nobody beats down anybody anymore. So that competitive drive and that self-defense of that wanting to win, it's really mellowed, and it's really like dumped down. There's a lot of careful parenting. There's a lot of careful coaching. Yeah. There's a lot of don't hit him, use a pad. Like, there's a lot of nonsense that eliminates all that shit. So now you have to teach it.
Yeah.
I have to manufacture practices. I have to educate them that it's okay to be aggressive, that it's okay to hit someone, that it's okay to hold your teammate accountable, that it's okay to get after it, that emotions are not part of the game, right? Like, I have to teach all this when before you didn't have to, because it was part of our society. So that's how it's evolved, and obviously it's leading more with love, with positivity, analyzing, not criticizing. That's our team mottos too, right? Because there's a lot of hate and a lot of negativity and a lot of backseat drivers, problem spotters in the world, and they hear that all the time. So just shut it out.
It's abundant.
Shut it out. Yeah, it's a lot of shit. It's not useful. So, and it's not, the kids don't change. A lot of people say, "Well, kids nowadays." It's not, because once you expose them and you teach them, they're able to. They're human. They're going to compete the same way. They're going to develop the same way. They're going to want to be better. But you're just going to teach them, and society doesn't teach it a lot. A lot of the systems are very, very soft, and we have 4 things that we don't do at Mohawk basketball, Mohawk women's basketball matrix. We're not soft, we're not selfish, we're not silent, and we're not stupid. We don't do those 4 S's. If you embody any of those, you can't play for us.
Damn.
No,
and you're right, man. I think, because again, I think things have changed over the last few years. You know what I mean? Like, I'll say it is soft to an extent. There is no. I'd say there's some grit, some foundational grit, like the exposure where, let the youth kind of problem solve a little bit instead of parents having to just kind of hop in and save them, or like help them learn autonomy and accountability and how to solve their own problems in whatever way, and they'll make less mistakes and they'll build some resilience towards something. When they especially want to be a competitive athlete. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather have a junkyard dog that would work his bag off for us, because you could teach that guy like that skills. He's open minded and he or she is willing to do all those things. But to go the other way with it, you're kind of like, all right, we really have to just how do we teach you to be competitive? Like that to me is always like a interesting question, is like, how do we teach that competitive drive? So you mentioned it. So how do you enforce competitiveness? Let's say you have a new crew coming in, and those are some of the things you're prioritizing. Like, what do you guys do? What does that look like? How do we instill a competitive drive in these young athletes?
Yeah, number one starts with the culture. It's the culture that you're setting in your environment. You have your environment in your gym. I have my environment with my team. Any other gym environment that I walk into, like an academy or somebody that hires me, somebody that brings me, I'm going to Sweden in a couple of weeks, right? Like, yeah. I bring my culture with me. So that's number one. What is your culture? Well, my culture is, are you able to listen? Are you able to take instruction? If you are, then you can stay. Are you able to work hard, like super, super hard, and be able to dig in? Then you can stay, right?
Yeah.
Are you able to help others? Are you able to encourage others? Are you able to high five people? Are you able to have energy, right? Are you okay making mistakes, right? Then you can stay. Are you easily offended? No? Cool, you can stay. Are you easily offended? Yes, then you can leave, right? Or if you want to learn, I'll help you through it. So that's the culture, right? And then the love, the positivity, the correct anything that they're doing wrong, but also praise anything that they're doing right. So that's my culture, and all of those things lead to trust, and then trust leads into them leaning into what you have to say about winning. And I love winning, and we prepare to win. So when you prepare people to win, right, you have to introduce competitive mindset. You have to introduce drills. You have to introduce more type of, these are our cornerstones of our culture that make us competitive, right?
Okay.
And that's what we do. And the girls get it. They understand it. They know what they need to do. They know that they got to bring it. I mean, it's June 2nd. We've been going for a month of summer training, and you walk in the gym and you would think that it's like middle of the season competing for playing time.
Yeah.
So I love that shit.
Yeah, that's what you want, man. They're ready. They're you know what I mean? It's like, you don't have to get ready, they just stay ready. You know what I mean? Like, they're in that performance ready state. And it's that's the culture and the environment that we always trying to replicate, right? Like, it's always, and again, there's a lot of people, because again, these young athletes, I think, have a lot of voices telling them what to do and everything else like that. So there's a lot of noise, and I would never say it's not well intentioned. I don't think it's out of malice. I think it's just like, how do these athletes discern themselves from what's best for them and what might not be best for them? Because they're still learning those things, like what is best for them. Like, a lot of these young athletes, they don't really know yet. They don't know what they don't know. So to be exposed to these different environments and things, it's like, okay, they all think they've been doing, when you say work hard, they might think they've been working hard until they've been in an environment that's like, oh, this is what that looks like. Okay, so it's almost like a perceptional change, right? So
yeah, they self-sabotage, Matrix. You see them. I mean, don't self-sabotage. I tell my kids all the time, but I have my own kids, right? And you train my daughter. Thanks for that. Thankful for it. But listen, my kids, from day one, I never tell them what to do. It's always about figure out who you are, and here are some options based on who you are, that you tell me that you are, that you can do, right? So that's it. And for the longest time, my kids were recreational players, right? Because when you're a recreational player, playing the sport, practicing for the sport, or getting yourself ready for the sport is a really non-priority. Everything else is kind of blends in with life.
Yeah.
And I think most kids are that. Most kids are rec players, they're recreational type of athletes, which is so cool because it keeps you healthy, shows you teamwork, puts you around other people, you develop all kinds of skill sets.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's great. But if you want to become a high performance athlete, And you gotta understand that everything is part of it. The way you sleep, the way you eat, the way you think, the way you prep your mind, the way you take care of your body, who you hang out with, what kind of things are around you, what influences your mind, and then how well are you using that $1,200 piece of technology that's your phone to help you be better? Because I love the phone. The phone's not the problem, right? It's what you consume on the phone that's
Yeah.
the problem. And if the people around you, if your relationships are with people that don't match who you are and your goals, well, you're in the algorithm, man. You're in the wrong algorithm, right? So then you're being fed different shit, lazy shit,
Yeah.
non-competitive stuff, recreational stuff, which is cool. But if you don't
Yeah.
want to be there, then you can't be stuck there. So you can't self-sabotage yourself. You gotta distance, and you gotta find different groups, different people, so that you can keep growing. But that's where it's at, Matrix. A lot of self-sabotaging happens with the youth, and um, parents are also self-sabotaging because they're doing
Yeah.
the same shit.
Yeah.
They're watching Netflix, and they're not sleeping, and they have TVs in their rooms, and they're sleep hygiene shit, and they're eating garbage. And how are you going to teach your kid if you're not right? It's you got to be right so you can teach others. And yeah, man, I give people the line every time I go somewhere. I'm like, okay, name the top 5 things that you love in your life right now. Top 5 in order. Number 1, what's the number 1 thing you love in your life? And then go in order. And you know how many people don't get it right? Because, like, what's your number 1?
Oh, right now it's family for me for sure, and then training is number 2, and then the business is going to be number 3, and all that. So it's just it depends on like I don't know if that's the right the right answer.
Yeah,
I love these this work is long, and I think people have like this work life balance. I don't know. I don't really understand this work life balance shit because like a work life balance for one person they might work 13 hours a day, and that's like their work life balance. Like that's what I need. You know what I mean? Like if I work 14 hours, it's too much, but 13 is like I like that. I'm happy doing that. I love getting up early, doing all this shit. I get to do what I want, when I want, with who I want, where I want.
yeah.
That's priority, right? So yeah, I guess that's a tough question.
I know it is, but I always say it's me. I'm number 1. I love myself the most.
Damn.
And
Fuck, I
then
should have went with that one.
second, I love my wife and my kids. Third, I love the ability to be able to learn. I grew up in communism, man. I didn't have access to information, free information. So since I moved to Canada, a lot of free information in the last 30 years, and I love that, right?
Yeah.
Fourth, I love the ability to impact, to give back. Even this show. Even if one person gets something out of what I said, it's an ability to impact. So thank you for this. And then fifth, I love hoops. I love basketball, and that's how I roll. Because if I'm not 100% good with Mihai, if I don't take care of my body, my mind, if I'm not 100% operating at full capacity, then anything else doesn't get the best of me. My kids don't get.
Yeah.
They didn't sign up to have a 75% father.
Yeah, absolutely.
My wife wants, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not fair to
Yeah.
not give my all. So, I'm first. I take care of my shit all the time so that I can be good for everybody else.
Yeah, it makes good sense. The better version of yourself you are, all these other avenues are impacted regardless, right? Just top down type of shit. It makes the most sense. Absolutely. So that, yeah, you're right. We do see a lot of kids that have that man in the arena type mentality, but they make spectator decisions. They're not, they
I
trade.
like that.
You can't be a
Say
good
it
at.
again. Say it
Yeah,
again.
yeah, man, the arena, but you make spectator decisions. It's, you could, do a couple things right, but if you eat like a child and sleep like a child, then you can't. You're missing some low hanging fruits. That's going to really just elevate everything else, right?
So,
So, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. So then, talking with the Mohawk basketball side of things, I do want to dive into like the culture you create. I also want to dive into how you have those tough conversations because I think it's important too. Because a lot of players they get recruited, they have expectations, they might be a good recruit, kind of middle of the pack and that kind of thing. But then I think a lot of players like want to start talking about playing time and how they get their playing time and finding ways and how to have those adult conversations and also getting adult answers, whether they like it or not. Because, they might say they want the answer, but then, coach isn't going to, they might say, oh, coach, I want to get my playing time. How do I start? How do I get my minutes? Like, what do you need to see from me? So like, how do you kind of handle those conversations? Like, how do you have that dialogue and start talking about what they need to be to get them where they're at and understand where their role might be at the current time on the team?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. The truth.
Yeah.
We're very open. So I'm an open guy, and I like the culture of openness. It took some time to build it, but everything is open. So between me and the players, me and the assistants, there's no hierarchy, and there's nothing hidden, right? Everything is open. Today we practice at 6. The practice plan, it's ready. The girls can see it. There's nothing hidden about what they're about to do. I ask them questions. We go back and forth. So we're very open and very trusting. So because of that and everything else that I told you up to date, right? Like our culture, our mantra, the way we operate, we don't hide the fact that we want to win. Winning is part of our mantra. So our mantra is 4 things. Love, positivity, analyze, don't criticize, and win a championship. That's in there, and we don't remove the win because everything you do helps you win. So you already know what it takes to win.
Yep.
In the summertime, every single player gets an individual workout from me, right? And that's the benefit of being a skill development coach.
Get the perk. They got lucky, eh?
That's it. So they get that. So then they know. For example, last year I had one of my point guards. All she had to work on is mid-range shots and her passes. I didn't want her shooting 3, and I didn't want her to handle the ball. I wanted the ball to be on loan when she catches it, so she got to be able to deliver it. And then when she's open for a mid-range, just shoot, nothing else. So she came ready with just that for the summer because that fits what we do. So she's doing what I asked her to do.
Yeah.
Now she's got to be able to perform it when I need her to do that in the game. And then she'll play. There's no questions asked about it. She'll play. If you can't do what I need you to do, then you can't play. So the conversations, my first 2 years were hard because we were still building.
Yeah.
And it was just, the first year was demanding nonsense. People are just demanding nonsense because they come from nonsense clubs and high schools.
Yeah, it's always a weird transition when there's a new coach, new program. Like it's a learning curve for sure.
Yeah. And then second year was better. It was better. And then last year, I didn't have one conversation with anybody about how I can play more. There was no conversation because everybody knew, and everybody knew if they didn't play, why they didn't play.
Perfect.
Simple. My best player, my top scorer, first team all conference. I didn't play her one game the whole second, third, fourth quarter because she didn't deserve to play. And she understood. She got it. And that kicked her ass into gear,
Good shit, man.
We keep it open, man. We keep it open. That's the secret. Be truthful. Be truthful.
Yeah.
The only time coaches are not truthful is when their own truth hurts.
Yeah.
Or their own truth fears. Gannon Baker, the guy I told you about, my coach, my mentor. I helped him actually obtain a global patent on the phrase, truth fears no question.
That's sick.
So, we have a global patent on it because that if your truth doesn't fear, if you're operating to where you want to go, if your daily activities are real, they're driven by who you are, they're driven by where you want to go. If I'm playing time, I want playing time. Okay, cool. What do I need to do to get playing time? 1, 2, 3, 4. Are you doing that? Are you demonstrating it? Are you performing? Like, I trust you when you're able.
Yeah.
Right? I trust you when you're believable in your actions. I trust you when you're competent, like you're actually able to do it. And I trust you when you deliver. You got to deliver. That's how I build my trust. And if I tell you what to do and you don't do it, I'm going to call you out on it.
Yeah, simple.
Yeah, man. Just keep it real. Keep it real all the time, and they love it. The girls love it because there's no ambiguity.
Yeah,
it's all there. It's all in front of you.
Yeah, I think people I think athletes want to be coached. You know what I mean? They want to hear that. I think athletes respond to truth. You know what I mean? Like they want it. I think sometimes coaches, I would even, again, you'd have more experience with this in terms of the higher level, but sometimes I fear younger coaches, if they're coaching like professional players, maybe they're a little more hesitant because they're like, well, who am I to tell this guy what to do or how to do it and this kind of thing, right? So sometimes they might just be more hesitant to deliver some real feedback in a transparent way positively, but I think and that's not helping anybody. It's like,
Yeah,
hey, you're in a role.
it's never about you, Matrix.
Yeah.
Nobody really cares who you are. I'm helping actually a coach develop his business right now. It's a basketball coach, and we had the talk yesterday about it's not about who you are, what you've done, what you've accomplished, where all the accolades. Nobody cares. It's hey, what can you do for me because I have a problem?
Yeah.
Whatever my problem is. I need to jump higher, I need to be faster, I need to be stronger, whatever that is, my lateral movement, my mobility, whatever that is, I have a problem. Can you help me? Cool. Why can you help me? Now tell me some things about you. But that's secondary. It's can you help me and how? It's what really matters. And if these coaches, these young coaches that are afraid or are shy, if you're able to help somebody, then you have the right to say something. If you're not able to help somebody and you're full of shit, then you should keep your mouth shut until you know more.
Yeah. Just fucking make sure you're competent as a coach first and foremost. You know what I mean? I think, like you said at the beginning, I think a lot of them get so caught up in the certifications and I always tell, because we have interns and stuff too, and they, master's degree. We've turned down guys with PhDs because just because they're qualified doesn't mean you're competent. They're two very different things, right? So it's, you know what I mean? It's two very different things. There's guys that are coaches that have like guys with like Olympic medals that have a bachelor's or not even a bachelor's degree, right? Versus who am I going to take advice? Who am I picking to take advice from? You know what I mean? Like the guy's been in the trenches or the guy that's read a bunch of stuff and just is going to fucking throw it out there and suddenly he's the out of town expert, right? So
that's it.
You got to be competent. So with your, I want to talk a little bit about recruiting too, because I think a lot of coaches struggle with the recruiting efforts, and especially because in the OCAA it's a little bit different compared to like out west or things of that nature, like different resource types and everything else. So walk me through like a little bit about like how you guys recruit for your team at Mohawk.
I mean, I look for character first. I look for character first, quality people. We have a vibe. We have a different vibe. We operate like I told you, right? Super open, super trusting. There's zero judgment. Everything goes right with this group of girls. So that's number one. You got to fit.
Yeah.
Two, I look for body. Right? Bodies are important in sports, and if your body's not a basketball body, that's a huge you better make it up in other ways. So I look for body first, and my kids always make fun of me because we'd be out and they'll tap each other and be like, watch, dad's gonna go up to that girl and say, hey, you have a basketball body, do you play?
Yeah, you do.
But that's right. So body is key, and then just ability to move. To me, the way you move is important because you either have the flow, or you're herky-jerky, or you're very boxy or square. So if you can move athletically, that's very important to me. And then do you fit in with the girls? I always bring them into a practice. I put them right in. Because I might not like the way you operate in that environment, and that's the environment you're going to be in. I don't really care how you operate with your team. I mean, I care, but I don't really care, right? I want to see you with us. So I always bring them in. And then we look at the basketball information. Right? How much do you know? What can you do? How easily do you take instruction? How easily do you let me correct you? How many times do I have to correct you on a simple thing before you do it? And then that's my recruiting process. That's the way I do it. And then if you match, then we go. If you don't match, then we don't go. And the girls have to give you the approval. They have to give me Matrix is good or Matrix is not good. The coaches, and then I have to have the feel, and then it's got to be reciprocated the other way from the recruit. So that's how we do it. Obviously, when they first show up, when they surface on the radar, it's either because I've been around, so like I just get a text or a phone call, hey, I have this player, I seen this girl, oh, I thought of you, there's this girl, or they just connect with me because some of their parents I played with, back in the day. So I'm lucky in that regard, and winning also opens up people's eyes faster. So I'm thankful to be connected in the community of hoops. I'm thankful that my name is synonymous with getting people better at hoops. So that's easy to get the names. It's just the fit that's the hard part to make sure
Yeah,
that they fit. You know.
yeah, I got you. So then now, what are some of the main differences for you now working with, let's say, the pro guys? Let's say you're in Europe, running your skill stuff in Europe overseas, and those guys now are high levels looking for contracts or trying to get higher up in their contracts. So walk me through a little bit like on how you're coaching them, maybe different than your collegiate players. You mentioned the sport specificity, those small intangible stuff are now going to make a bigger impact on how much they're getting paid, right? Because at the end of the day, those guys are trying to get their contracts extended or move up in a better league or whatever that might be, right? So it's important.
Yeah, I think the number one things that don't change are the things that make you great, right? So the
Yeah.
things that, as a 4-year-old mini baller and as a pro, you expect as a coach, you expect the same things. Pay attention, make sure you do everything super hard, and make sure that the details are emphasized. So that doesn't change, right?
Yeah.
The things that change is vocabulary. Vocabulary changes because terminology changes, right? Every different level of hoops, there's different terminology in terms of actions, in terms of footwork, in terms of, you know, plays, in terms of defensive schemes, right? So the language, the vocabulary changes. And then as you get older, as you get higher in the levels, it becomes more positional specific, right? So when you're down here, youth, everybody has to be able to do everything, right? Dribble, drive, play defense, move their feet, rebound. As you get up to the high school intermediate level, you're focusing on player movement, ball movement,
Yeah.
setting screens, so working together, right? Using those little skills to work together. And then when you're at the pro levels, everybody's almost a specialist, right?
Yeah.
You have different things. So when you get there, it's very specific in terms of like, all right, agent, where did he play last year? Cool, he played here. What did he get paid to do? This. Okay, what's the upside for next year? Well, he's got to learn to hit the 15-foot jumper and not just set screens and get rebounds. Cool. All right, let's improve that. Okay, so then you manufacture everything for that to improve them while keeping all the other skills sharp. So it's becomes from a broad teaching of the sport and very, very, very basic fundamentals like the number teaching, 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah.
To like let's move together and put those skill sets together, and you got to understand the game because matrix. You might still grow in high school, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah. Yeah.
7 inches. You might not grow. You might lean out. You might lose baby fat. Like there's so many factors in
Yeah.
this
Things
age
change.
group. So, but they got to know how to play together. And
Yeah.
then once they're like in a positional, right, kind of, you play 2, 3 positions, then you manufacture and you design the workouts for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes
Probably the
sense.
same shit you do. It's the same.
Yeah. It's the same shit. Because like, would you say that? Do you think kids are too specific at a young age? Do you think we're getting like I think we always hear a lot of times we want to be good like generalists before we become specialists type thing. Do you see what when you're working with the youth athletes in the high school and now the pro? Do you ever see across that spectrum that maybe the younger athletes are becoming too specific too soon? Like they're focusing on like the one thing, whether it be a certain skill, right? That's all they do. Do you ever see that? Do you ever feel like we kind of swung too far to one side?
Yeah, I think it's a predominant pandemic that we teach flashy things. We teach the things at a young age that are not the things that they need to do, right? Like
Yeah.
in basketball, there shouldn't be any 5-on-5 games, right, for a very long time in their training piece. I find that a lot of people that come to the next level or they try to break through ranks are missing the very basic things of like how to catch a ball and how to pass a ball and how to take contact, right? I find that if they specify on a sport only hoops
Yeah.
instead of just playing hoops, they don't come to you. If I was to design, the perfect basketball player from the age of 4 to the age of 8, they'd be in the gym with you, learning how to move, how to jump, how to land, how to open up their hips, how to catch, how to stop, how to drop low. like they wouldn't even touch a basketball, right?
Yeah.
But I don't make the rules. But if I were to, that's how they would start. And then, because so many of these kids don't know how to run, don't know how to lift their knee, don't know how to stop, don't know how to drop their hips, don't know how to get low, don't know how to take a hit. They don't even have the body strength to take a hit. So, yeah, I think it's silly that we specialize early. I think it's silly that we play competition games so early. We're doing them a disservice, but it's good for business. But we're doing those kids a disservice.
Yeah, we were having a conversation the other day too, because now it's like we know more about sports science than ever before. Yet we have higher injury rates than ever before, and a lot of it's even not like I think 70% was non-contact injuries too, right? So you're having these kids that literally can't move in any regard, haven't been taught how to move, or even just have the guardrails up to like have that freedom to learn and how to move for their body. But they're just okay. We got to specialize this one thing, and all of a sudden they just by the time they get older, their knees, their backs, everything's hurting, and they're it's almost like water on a rock. They're just slowly eroding away, to the point where now it's impacting their ability to play at a high level repeatedly over time, right? And I remember we had a parent come in and be like, "Why is my kid not bench pressing?" I'm like, I was to do a push up. This kid couldn't do a push up. I'm like, that's why. I'm like, he can't even push himself off the ground. Like let's just kind of, but again, that's the boring rudimentary stuff that again they have their phones and they're always attached to their phones. They don't see the flashy stuff because again it's boring, right? Like doing a push-up or doing a squat or lunge or just doing a breaking drill or learning how to step off a box to land in a good position. That's boring.
Yeah.
But it's necessary.
But it's so necessary because I get a player at my level and let's say she's a big and I tell her sit down and pretend you're jumping on a box. I never jumped on a box. Well, you don't train, like you know what I mean? Like they don't, they don't do it, so they can't relate. But us, sports specific, skill people, coupled with you and your team and people that do what you guys do, that's the key, man. That's the juice that gets the athletes going. Plus, yes, the nutrition part is huge. The sleep is huge. And those are the big pieces to form an athlete, and the mentality piece goes without saying. That's got to be there because you can't be a full athlete if you can't control your emotions. You don't have the right relationships. Your mind's a mess, and physically you have no control over what your body's doing or want to do to it. I don't really know why you're wasting time and money. That's my line always. Like you're wasting my time, your time, and your parents' money.
Yeah, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit. It's not what you do, it's what you can recover from. If you're training like a wild animal, but you're eating and sleeping like a child, and you're staying up till 2 a.m., and then it's like you're leaving so many low-hanging fruits on the table. Don't you talk to me about supplements or whatever, all these fancy things. I'm like, do you go to bed, at like 10 o'clock at night, wake up at 7? No? Then let's not talk. Don't even have that conversation yet. You can't even go to bed on time. Let's not even have, you know what I mean? Like, let's worry about the most fundamental thing first because it's true. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. And again, we train a lot of basketball players and jump sport athletes. It's crazy how these longer limbed, athletes with certain biases, they're playing essentially a more vertically quad dominant sport. And for a lot of these athletes, they never bend their knees ever. They never bend their knees ever. So even just saying like, hey, can you just sit on your heels and let your knees come all the way? I can't. You're just like, well, we should probably try to get to, okay, we should start to progress towards these things. Why? It's like, well, we're trying to make you a little more robust. It's not just one thing can you do. Can you handle a practice? Does it take you 24 hours to feel good again versus 48? Like, that's a win, but we got to just build some general movement ability here. You know what I mean? We become so rigid, so stiff, and like again, we have pro guys. Like, I get it. You're a little bit older, you're more seasoned, and even our college girls, I'm like, you can't even do like in a controlled environment a constraint like with hands assisted. Like, can you just put yourself into a knee bent position, knowing that you're going to go on a court and jump a couple hundred times at a practice and cut and change direction? I'm like, but you're afraid to just in a controlled environment help yourself to a bent knee position. You know what I mean?
Well, it's crazy. It's crazy, Matrix. But I'm thankful that one of my great friends, and me and you talked about it before, Dana John. He's that guy. He's the mobility guy that has taught me from day one the importance of it. So the athletes do it, and I feel like any new age strength and conditioning coach, they put such a huge emphasis now on mobility and making sure they can drop ass to grass and get up with no pain, no pause, no issues,
Oh yeah, no,
at
it's
any time.
necessary.
It's key. It's key. It's key. I like
Yeah.
it, man. I like the way you think.
No, it's we like to say because like some of these athletes will go do yoga and stuff. But okay, do like a dumbbell split squat. They're like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, it's a loaded stretch. Just think the same thing you're doing in yoga. You're just holding a weight doing it. It's a loaded stretch. It's like if you can put yourself in those positions, right, with a bit of load, it's like because again, it's one thing for like a AT or a PT to passively put you in those positions. Can you put yourself in that position, and can you get yourself out of that position? If you can access those ranges of motion, right, and then you can train those ranges of motions, you now are able to externally load these deep positions, which means you're going to have a better chance of mitigating risks of injury in the future because you have more access to that movement. You have access to ranges of motion that you can load and control and refine now. If you can feel it, you can control it, you can load it, you can refine it to be more explosive, more powerful. But you have to kind of check those first two boxes first. Can you put yourself there and get yourself out? And once you get comfortable doing that, load it. Then you can try to add certain degrees of speed and everything else that, kind of stack on top of it. But a lot of them just can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they just can't.
It's wild.
And,
But that's why we do what we do, man.
Yeah.
Keep helping them, keep getting them ready to jump for us.
Yeah, we try, man. Trust. It's jump sport athletes are fun to work with. I'll tell you that. Trust me. We've done a lot of them. But okay, so I want to now transition a little bit to the business side because I want to see how you kind of take your culture and walk these business. Because again, it's crazy how you started a cop, you had your skill development, and then you started getting calls now to go and work with these different people, and then all of a sudden, essentially, them trusting you to just take over and be like, hey, can you grow this for me? So, like. What was that like? Like the first call you get and say, okay, I'm gonna go do this and figure this out. Like, how am I gonna elevate what they're doing? You know what I mean? Because that's a wild ride.
Yeah. It was. It was with Gannon. That was kind of like the first real jump into taking over somebody else's business and helping them. And his request was simple. I need to be more systemized. I need to be more organized. I need to understand where my business is at. I want to make money online. I want to be able to create an online curriculum. So that was something that I wanted to do. I knew that I was good at. I knew that I could do it. I've been in through different personal experiences where we created an online training system twice. Twice it didn't do so well, but it was for myself because I was just local. But he was global, and it was much easier to come and bring everything I learned from my tooth failures and bring it over to him and be like, this is how we do a digital curriculum. Yeah. Anyway, we knocked it out of the park. It was awesome. We had a great video guy. You know Reese Fisher?
That name sounds familiar.
Bearded guy, Instillment.
Maybe if I saw him. I mean, I thought I heard the name, yeah.
He's a local guy. So anyway, I brought him. He was a basketball guy and kind of helped him start his business. And we filmed, he came down and filmed in Florida. And that was like the first thing that I put together for somebody else before it was just all for myself.
Yeah.
And then people just started knocking. There's always been people knocking on the door about, hey, you're a successful skilled trainer. How do you do it? So I would always give advice. But then through Gannon, his following is so big and people were asking business questions. And then, he would say, well, Mihai's the business guy. And just slowly started, it was organically evolving. But there's some real cool businesses, some real cool people that have helped along the way and still do. And it's awesome. But the transition is basically, I'm already teaching at the graduate level, the same stuff. I've done it for myself. I've done it for Gannon. And then as that was all happening, people were asking random questions for help. And then I just systemized that part of things on how I would help somebody. So now there's like a place on the web, they go, it's a whole page, they fill out a questionnaire, and then it's very, very streamlined on how I help people. But yeah, it was natural. It was a natural progression because I thought everybody knew business, but no, I'm educated in business and I understand business and been doing business. So it was a natural evolution for me to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think for us, we really did a lot of reflecting this past year, 2024, because I think we were trying to say for ourselves, like, okay, like how do we kind of keep leveling up? How do we, because I think for us, we realized like we're doing a lot of good things. And again, this is like the back end side of things, but we're doing a lot of good things. We just didn't know why. You know what I mean? Like, and then we're like, okay, let's start creating like Google Doc SOPs. Let's start writing down what we do and how we do it. And then like, okay, well, let's practice that and then see like what the success rate is and then write notes on feedback and we'll just keep refining the procedures and see how that goes. And then we'll start tracking more stuff and that kind of thing. But it really came down to like, it's not kind of just reinventing the wheel. It's just what do you think is working? Write down why you think it's working and then start to put like some sort of skeleton in place that hopefully you can replicate and eventually if that works, scale. It's not perfect, but you know, it's crazy how a lot of people just start being doers. It's all well and good, but why? Why do you know like what's working and why? And if it's not working, why? So that's a whole system.
I mean, and it's right now. There's a guy I help in Calgary, Alberta, a girl I help in Philly, a guy in Toronto. Like there's people everywhere, right? Somebody in Europe, strength and conditioning guy in Europe, but like. It always comes down to the systems, right? What are your systems? Because you want to be in the gym matrix. You want to be downstairs. You want to be there helping people be better, creating programs, educating yourself on the new trends and new findings and, you know, continuously to bring your best self forward. You don't want to worry about running the business. However, because it's not a humongous company, right? There's three of you and you guys work together. You have to have the proper systems. There's no better place than now because now this guy in Calgary, it's AI, right? Like you toss in so much AI automations and so much AI operations that you don't need to do any work really when it comes to your admin, right? Your data, anything that's data related, analytics, your marketing, very minimal now, right? Anything to do with graphics, video, you don't need to be doing things, right? AI is there and does it for you. You can put a camera on the balcony and film the gym, and then by the morning, AI's got the clips cut up for you of what you want to show, right? But that's mainly how I help people. I help them systemize. I help them look at the revenue. I know how to generate revenue. that's one thing I'm good at. It's generating revenue, making people money. So that's we just look at everything, put the system in place, and off you go. But some people retain me. Some people, the girl in Philadelphia, Misha from Probound Training, it's been 4 years and I'm on a retainer with her, right? And some people stick around because they like the weekly coaching and the ability to check in. Some people just come in, hey, look at my business, give me the plan, I have a couple questions, see you later, I got it.
Perfect. No, that's awesome. Hey, we're definitely gonna pick your brain on the future on that shit, man. Like it's always
Anytime, man.
It's always crazy to balance system ideas. We've done a lot of different learning styles. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. There's still lots to do, but it's kind of like okay, we're getting better at it. You know what I mean? It's a learning process.
It looks great, it looks great what you're doing. Your name is gold in the community. People that talk about you are talking, hey, this guy produces results. My own daughter, she grew up around in gyms with a lot of people that look like you, she's not stupid. She understands and, she loves it. And yeah, it's when you produce results, the rest is easy. It's always hard when people try to look at it the other way. How much money can I make?
Yeah.
Oh, this is like a good business. Looks like people are making money in this. I'm going to become a strength and conditioning coach and make money. That's where they fail.
Huge.
You're doing it the other way around, which it's already successful. There's results. So to tweak the business and to sharpen up, it's going to be a piece of cake for you.
Yeah, our philosophy for that stuff was like just do a great job and then make sure everyone knows about it. That was pretty much the 2-point philosophy. Just do great work and the rest will follow.
Yeah, and then there's a guy that told me once, if you're going to work hard, you might as well get paid for it. So
absolutely,
that's it.
Absolutely. So, we'll wrap up with a couple fun questions.
Sure.
We'll do some this or that. Again, there's no context, like this or that. Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant?
Michael Jordan.
Why?
Teammates, ability to lead others, a bit more ruthless. Was able to leave and change the game of the shoe industry, the sports apparel industry. Every kid wants to be like Mike still, and just his grit, his determination, and just maybe because I'm an old school guy too.
Yeah, no, Kobe was a dog though, but
yeah, nothing against Kobe.
Yeah,
all the respect. Yeah.
I hated when Jordan went to Washington to the Wizards, man. I was like, man, I don't know. Yeah. I get it, but like shit. All right. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, dead or alive, who would you want to have dinner with and why?
That's a good one. Any historical figure. Wow, a lot of them. That's a great question. That's a great question. Maybe I'd probably pick, the Dalai Lama.
Good choice.
That'd be a good guy. Just I'm a meditator. I'm a deep thinker. I believe in, people connecting with good people, good karma, understanding the mind. So yeah, that's probably a guy I would love to sit down with.
Oh yeah, have a steak dinner with the Dalai Lama. See what wisdom comes out of that conversation, man.
I don't eat steak, but yes.
It's all right. We'll have a good pasta dinner, man. We'll crush that one up. That's a good choice. We've had some good choices. We had a guest on that picked. I think they picked Martin Luther King because he wanted to see the difference between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, both fighting for the same goal, but just two different ways of going about it. It was like it was crazy how it became so philosophical, at that time with that conversation. But I was like, damn, that's a good one too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot of good ones out there for sure.
Yeah, it was dope. All right, if you had one piece of advice for a up-and-coming athlete, what would it be?
Well, it's always going to be the same piece of advice. Make sure you understand who you are. Make sure you understand how you operate. Make sure you understand what makes you tick. Understand you physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally, spiritually. If you can do that, the rest is going to fall exactly where it needs to fall. If you can't do that, anything is going to be manufactured. It's going to be faking the funk. It's going to be fake it till you make it, and that's not a true statement. So don't do that shit. But figure out who you are, and the rest will flow.
Dope. I love that. Cool. If people want to learn more about you or connect with you, what is the best way that they can learn more about what you do and connect?
Yeah, Instagram's probably the best way. It's just my name. I'm sure you'll put it somewhere, right?
Yeah,
it's Mihai Raducanu official. That's the best way, and then from there we can connect different ways. But Instagram's a good start.
Fantastic. Well, Mihai, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. It's been a fucking blast. Love it.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. This was awesome. Great conversation.
Yeah, it's fucking, we chop it up, man. We keep it simple. Guys, this is Performance Matters Podcast. We're on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Make sure you like and subscribe. Big thank you to Mihai for coming on today and giving us some fucking wisdom, man. Love that shit. We need more of it. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Until next time.